And to continue our politics conversation, we are joined now by Tamara Keith of NPR and Stu Rothenberg, senior editor at Inside Elections. Thank you both. It's good to have you. So, Tam, you just heard Chris Ruddy, who does talk to people in the White House. He said he talked to the president on Friday, say that he thinks the president is considering terminating Robert Mueller. Is that something we were aware of?
Certainly there has been stuff around on Twitter of other Republicans raising questions about Mueller, but the way that Ruddy just couched that, he made it clear that, and maybe he was protecting himself and the president, but he made it clear that he was basing that on something that one of the president's lawyers had said on TV over the weekend. The other thing that stood out to me is talking about Robert Mueller having had a meeting at the White House, having met with the president, possibly to take the job of FBI director, which is a job he had held before. NPR and Carrie Johnson, my colleague at NPR, had been reporting that Mueller had met with Justice Department officials and also White House officials, but the idea that he also met with the president himself is new to me, at least.
Stu Rothenberg, the story just keeps bubbling up about Mr. Mueller, Mr. Comey, the president, the Russia investigation. This is a White House that this week is trying to clearly get away from this.
Right.
They've labeled it Workforce Development Week. Can they make any progress in changing direction when you have this kind of conversation?
Right. I think it's a great idea that they should try to change the discussion, the narrative. But in this case, as you point out, there's too much going on. During Workforce Development Week, tomorrow we have the Sessions testimony on the Hill. We have two attorneys general, one from D.C., one from Maryland, and announced that they're going to sue the president over the Emoluments Clause. We had today the Ninth Circuit Court issuing an opinion upholding the travel ban. It's as if the president has already kind of broken so many bottles and glasses that there's glass strewn on the floor, and any step he takes, he's going to crunch something. So I think it would be a wonderful idea for the White House to change the subject, but you can see what happened in the last 24 hours.
But Tam, they're still trying. Last week it was Infrastructure Week.
And that was
Mr. Comey.
Yeah, Mr. Comey week is actually what it was. And so the president is flying tomorrow. He's going to Waukesha, Wisconsin to tour a technical college and talk about apprenticeships. On a slow news day, any other president, that might sort of be a headline, but it certainly wouldn't be a front page headline. If you're trying to distract from some very big headlines, going to a technical college isn't necessarily the answer. And here's the other thing. We've been trying to press the White House to find out what policy change the president actually envisions, or they say that they want more private-to-private partnerships to do more
around this workforce development.
Exactly, around this workforce development. But then they're saying, well, you'll have to wait until Wednesday to find out exactly what we're talking about. And that's a long time to wait, and it's a long time to expect people to pay attention to something that is not related to the biggest news of the day.
Two other points. One is, are there tapes? That hasn't been answered, so everyday reporters are going to ask that. And the other thing was, I think Chris Ruddy made some news today. He said the president is considering the firing of the special counsel. Isn't that the next week's discussion now? So it's hard for me to believe that.
Well, and we couldn't tell, as Tamara was saying, we couldn't tell if he's just referring to what one of the president's lawyers is saying. But the fact that he said it.
And the way he said it, yeah, absolutely.
Has to make us wonder.
Stunning.
Well, as you mentioned, Stu, you've got the travel ban decision today by the federal court. There doesn't seem to be good news. I mean, health care reform seems to be, at least for the time being, stopped up. Stopped up, is that the word in the Senate? There's nothing happening yet. Maybe it will happen. We haven't seen a tax reform plan. Are we just going to watch the news develop every week like this? And
yeah, I think so. And so there's a problem for the White House on a number of levels. The president wants to change the narrative. He also wants to accomplish things he hasn't yet. Maybe he will. But one of the things I've believed for many weeks and months is that he has to worry about the fatigue factor on the American public. I remember thinking back to Bill Clinton and all the drama in the Clinton White House. And after a while, people thought, oh, another thing we have, Gewalt, as we say. This is the same kind of thing. There's another crisis every day. And after a while, people just, they don't want that. They want things to return to normal. And Donald Trump's, the whole premise of Donald Trump is upsetting normal. Well, you can do that only if you accomplish certain things and people start to feel better about themselves in the country.
How much do they recognize this at the White House, do you think, Tam?
Well, they're obviously trying to correct it. They're trying to do things that normal presidents do, like hold a cabinet meeting as they did today. Though it turned into this somewhat unusual session of every cabinet head praising the president in very effusive ways that is sort of beyond what would be normal for one of these types of events, one of these types of photo ops.
I want to turn you to something, because we do pay attention to parts of the country, Stu, outside of Washington occasionally. But there are a couple of elections coming up tomorrow in Virginia. There's a primary as they choose their governor. A week from tomorrow, there's a much-watched vote to choose the next member of Congress from the 6th District in Atlanta.
Yeah, and I think that
Georgia.
special election is a really big deal.
Yeah.
I think Democrats have been hoping...
In Georgia.
In Georgia, right.
Yeah.
The Georgia 6th special. Democrats have been hoping for a victory to take off over a Republican seat. This one was very close. Donald Trump won it by a point in November. And the Democrats feel like they have a great opportunity here. And if they do, it'll put that, then we'll have another news story, another data point that the White House will have to respond to. If the Democrats lose, I think, after losing in Kansas and Montana, and yeah, Democrats kind of exceeded expectations, but losing in the Georgia seat, there'll be a sense of, are the voters really turning on Donald Trump or not? So I think it's a big deal for both parties.
Is the White House watching that one?
Oh, absolutely, they're watching it. And just today, President Trump was saying, look we did well in Kansas, we did well in Montana. Democrats think they've got something going on, but no, they don't. Look at what we've done. So the president himself is watching this closely.
And he said complimentary things about Karen Handel, the Republican candidate.
I think he would take it as a personal loss if she loses.
Because is it
It would be.
Just quickly, is
it
it
would be.
a statement about Donald Trump?
Oh, yes. Neither Karen Handel, the Republican, nor John Ossoff, the Democrat, are perfect candidates. They've raised a lot of money. There's a lot of energy, and most of it national money and energy. But I don't think there's no doubt. I mean, if there was a Democrat in the White House, I would expect the Republican to win the race easily. And now with a controversial Republican in the White House, no, this election, it's about Donald Trump.
Stu Rothenberg, Tamara Keith, this is about the two of you. Thank you.
Thank you.